Happy Monday. I'm Jen Wilson, and I'm with Convergence Coaching, and I'm here for HR Huddle with my good friend and colleague, Samantha Mansfield. Samantha, welcome.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk to HR leaders and other firm leaders in the accounting profession to talk about common roadblocks that we encounter in leaders that we need to develop or grow, or who are on their way to something bigger and better and badder in our firms. They may be on the path to partner. They may already be new partners, but they have just some interesting, sort of challenging rough edges maybe that need to be sanded off, finishing that needs to occur. Nothing tragic. They're awesome, but there's just some things holding them back. And at Convergence, we do a lot of leadership development work, a lot of coaching and teaching of the next generation. And we have been finding just some super common, consistent roadblocks. And we thought today with our HR friends and firm leaders that we might talk about some of those consistent roadblocks. So I'll start us off, and then Samantha, you can jump in here and take that idea away if you'd like. And then we'll see where we go from there. But I think probably the most common, I would say that it shows up in somewhere between 30 and maybe 40% of the classes of young people that we get every year, is kind of a combination, not speaking up consistently and not being that visible. So some might refer to the people as quiet or sort of mute in meetings, not saying a lot, not contributing much, and then maybe not being well known outside their department or outside their clients or outside their engagement team. They just haven't really stuck their head up and out and looked out and been known by others. And that could be inside the firm and outside the firm, but commonly it's a lack of visibility in both places. And so I thought, Samantha, maybe you want to start talking about some of the costs of that, but also some of the ideas that we give people to help them overcome that.
Yeah. Well, I think when we look at some of the different causes that can create it, is a big one is lack of confidence. When you've got these young professionals or even professionals in a second career come into accounting, and now they're moving up in their leadership or visibility in the firm, or striving for that, they can lack the confidence. They can get this imposter syndrome of, well, everybody else at this table knows more than I do, so what's really the value of what I'm going to say? Or maybe this is going to sound foolish and I don't want to look foolish in front of this group of people. So I'm just going to reserve my comments and maybe not say it in front of this whole group. And maybe I'll email it afterwards or go have a one-on-one conversation with somebody. But then what happens is you miss that opportunity to let people hear what your voice is. What is your point of view on that? And what are you thinking about those future opportunities or whatever this discussion may be? So by young leaders having that reservation and not speaking up, they're missing that opportunity for people to understand, again, their approach and what they're seeing. And it makes it hard then when we're looking at them as a future partner, because I don't know how you think about things. And that's where that visibility comes into it as well, because I can work with the team members and they more know my style. But what about that other service line or people in other offices that don't know me? And so then it becomes a harder trust decision to be able to say, yes, I want to be a partner with you. And that's where that speaking up and creating that visibility is so important. So things that we'll say is, if you struggle in those scenarios of speaking up, give yourself a goal. Give yourself a goal of at least speaking up one time during that meeting. If you're worried about how articulate you're going to sound, ask for an agenda prior to the meeting so that you can pull some thoughts together before you go in there. And realize too that a question is effective as well. That, hey, I'm thinking about it this way. So maybe if you're not confident or comfortable making a definitive statement, that a question can be very effective. And those are all techniques that you can coach young leaders to help them find their voice in those scenarios.
I love that, Samantha. And I think that, when I try to tell people who don't commonly speak up, I say, people will misinterpret that as not being engaged or not having anything to offer. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to make a mistake, they'll think this is a dumb idea or something like that, recognize that your silence is creating another set of negatives, right? So pick your poison, at least look like you have something to contribute, or you do have feelings or thoughts or opinions on something. And then I love your idea of asking a question. I think that's always a good one. And, I tell folks that aren't really sure whether or not they should speak up, and they're kind of having an internal wrestling match with themselves. I tell them, I want you to picture that you're sort of in there holding onto your tongue and wrestling around holding it, stop holding your tongue. But if you can't speak up initially, at least start writing down what you might have said, and then observe whether or not that gets said by someone else. Observe whether or not, you're finding yourself having hallway conversations after. A lot of times that can be frustrating to people because you might have had the one objection we needed to talk about in the big room.
Right.
Bring it up in the hallway, and I feel like, oh my gosh, now I have to put it back on the agenda because it should have been said in front of the people that could have at least entertained the idea or understood it better. So not speaking up can be really a challenge. Lack of visibility. When you speak up, you have visibility. So, and by the way, think about it in the in-person paradigm. I'm in a conference room and not speaking up. I'm physically visible, but I'm not, manifesting as a contributor. Yeah. But on video, it can be even harder to be visible. If I'm mostly remote or we're working hybrid or a lot of our project teams are spread out, I really have to pay attention. Cameras on, visibility, please. We tell leaders all the time, it's really strange to lead calls with your camera off all the time. It's okay sometimes, but first of all, how can I ask anybody else to have their cameras on if I don't? But also just being visible, you can show by nodding heads or, smiling or laughing or whatever you're doing that we're together. We're getting, we're moving somewhere together in the conversation. So cameras on, that's a visibility idea, but also am I serving on organizational committees in this place? Have I offered to contribute in ways that are not just specific to client work or my smaller engagement teams? Am I volunteering for anything? Am I going along on anything? Do I show up at firm events? And then have I met people outside my group? Mm-hmm. And we tell people all the time, especially if I'm on the path to partner, and I'm like, boy, I hope they'll consider me for partner. I always tell people, think about you as a partner someday, and they give you this list of names of people you've never met or talked to or seen, and they want you to vote them in to equity to become your work spouse, and you're like, I don't even know these people. So how can you expect the partners that are in your organization today to choose you if they don't know you? And the bigger we are, the less likely it is you can know all the leaders in the organization. But you should be known to enough of them that they could speak for you. And it can't just be the ones you work for every day. And so one of the roadblocks we see is I keep my head down and I do my work and I really crank it out, but I'm not building internal relationships. And I feel too busy to do it, or like it's weird to do it. Well, it's weird not to do it. So that's another sort of speak up and be visible idea, is get out there and start getting to know folks. And you don't have to schedule. You say, hey, you're a partner in the firm. You're outside of my group. I don't know too many people outside my group. I'd like to get to know you better. I'd love to hold a 30-minute call, video call if we could. And I'd just like to hear your story and how you got where you are and see if there's any advice you might have for me. It's not, I'm getting on a call with you and let me tell you all about me and I'm going to do a song and dance and a tap dance and a rah rah yay me for my call with you, person I don't know.
Mhm.
That's not what we're advocating. We're advocating you go get to know them, which is, tell me your story. That's your one big contribution. So if you don't like to speak up much, tell me your story. We'll get you somewhere with whoever you're getting to know. And then you can ask follow-up questions.
And if you're feeling as though, because I love that, Jen, and giving somebody that empowerment to say, go do it. And one of the hesitations I hear an awful lot is, well, why would they want to take the time to talk to me? Right? We're so busy. Our schedules are so full. Why do they want to talk to me? And yet they do want to talk to you because you're the future of the firm. And so they absolutely want to hear from you. They want to hear what is your interest, what fires you up, where's your passion in the profession. And then they want to foster that and help you with it. And so we've got these two different perspectives that are happening where we have experienced leaders who were saying, I don't know who's interested in stepping up to be leaders. And we have more junior leaders or younger people coming up saying they're too busy and they've got their time's worth too much. Talk to me. And we're just communication. We're just completely missing each other. And so encourage HR people, the leaders that are on here, please encourage that it is important that they speak up and that they go and do that networking within the firm to get to know people, because it does create better strength for the firm and of course for themselves and their career and satisfaction, which leads to retention. And we know that's an important piece too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So those are a couple. Lack of visibility, lack of speaking up. I'm going to hit another one that's not perfectly common, but it does hit, 15, 20% of the people that we meet. And that is that they speak up too much. They dominate. And so, their firm might be asking them to speak up less or use fewer words or don't take such a strong position. I mean, there's a number of different things within that. Anytime I have somebody who seems like they are carrying most of the weight in conversations or meetings, where they speak up a lot, where they have a lot of opinions, especially if it's positional, if they have what's called positional authority. So I'm more senior in the room. I'm a higher level on the org chart in the room. I should speak last. So my new rule should be I speak last. And my second rule should be all the stuff that's coming into my mind that I just feel like getting out of my mouth and I can't bear it if it doesn't get said in this meeting and I just have to spit it out. Instead of spitting it out, I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper or I'm going to, type it into some notes on my laptop if we have laptops open. And I'm going to wait and I'm going to play a game called Does Anybody Else Say or Ask This? And I'm going to literally hold back and wait and see if other people will contribute in similar ways or say the same thing. And most of the people that we coach that tend to dominate conversation, they are surprised by how other people will come in and say what they were going to say or ask what they were going to ask. And that is something that should give them some confidence that they don't have to be present in every meeting. Mm-hmm. That these ideas are not theirs alone. Now, sometimes they are unique. And so I'm not saying we don't all have our unique contributions, but sometimes the big dominators are so afraid the ideas won't get out that they're not paying attention to the fact that they're not giving anybody else in the room a chance to get in there. And so where we find people who lack visibility and confidence to speak up, they leave a gap. They need to process and they might leave a gap and the dominators will fill it all the time, creating this weird dynamic in meetings that has the quiet people blaming the extroverted dominators. They blame them like, I can't get a word in edgewise with these people. And then those dominators are like, man, why are all these people here sitting like bumps on a log? They've got nothing to contribute. And it's literally like this friction that can be bubbling up inside your meetings that you don't even realize is there. And so we just tell the dominators, hold back, and they can even say, I got this distinction in feedback that I might speak up too often, or I might not be allowing others to get their perspectives heard. I'm going to start speaking up last. I'm going to be more deliberate or quiet, which, by the way, makes it so they have to. So saying it creates this accountability. But second, it will help the people who are counting on them to fill the room with full of words so they don't have to. It'll put them on warning that they're going to have to come in. And then second, it will make everybody think that you haven't gotten ill if you were a dominator, because all of a sudden you being quiet is going to be weird and people won't know what to do with that. But it's a good thing to practice. And one other idea on that is round robin. So, if I know I tend to speak up, and by the way, if I have positional authority, I'm high on the food chain, and I speak up and I say, this is what I think, nobody else will counter it often. So then you create this group think that's not valid thinking. It's not collaborative. It's not innovative. It doesn't accept different perspectives because the top dog spoke first and said a lot, or whatever. So holding back and then saying, let's go around the table and every person give their thoughts, which forces everybody in not an awkward way. If we do it regularly, it becomes a known thing. I know I'm going to get asked. I'm comfortable getting asked. Gives everybody a chance.
Yeah. Well, and, we do this when we're doing retreats too. And we will specifically, very transparently in front of everybody, we will ask the more senior people or those of you who may speak up more, will you please hold back? And we saw a recent example of that work beautifully, and voices that had not been heard were chiming in. And then we didn't even have to do round robin because so many people were just feeling that comfort at that point. And the experience, we're still speaking up. Their voices are still important. The point of view is still important, but we just changed the flow of how it's happening, like you said. So it's a technique. And I really want to punctuate what you said, Jen, which is if you tend to be dominant speakers and you're going to start holding back to let others have the chance, please make sure you tell people you're intentionally doing this, because those things that we mentioned about those that don't speak up can start suddenly getting interpreted about you. Are you disengaged? Why are you suddenly not participating? Is there something going on, right? Are you dissatisfied in the firm? So be transparent in your change of strategy of communicating and participating in meetings. And so again, for HR leaders, if you're coaching people on that, that's an important piece that Jen said, I want to make sure didn't get missed.
Right. So I think I'm going to hit one more roadblock. I know we have a couple of minutes left, and I think that roadblock ties to these, and you already said the word, and this is its own HR huddle. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it up and we'll hit a couple of key ideas, and then we'll leave it and make a note for the future that we could probably do this whole thing. And that's the word confidence. So, when I don't speak up, when I'm not visible, I lack confidence, perhaps. It might be at the root of all of that. I don't really believe I have that much to offer or say. But we see a lack of confidence or inconsistent confidence, let's say, manifest itself in a lot of different ways in up and coming leaders. And first, as an experienced leader, my job is to believe in my people before they believe in themselves. So that, the best coach, the best manager, mentor, developer of people will tell their people, I believe you can do this, and what do you need from me to support you in doing it? I have confidence in you. Super critical that senior people on this, listening to this recording or listening to this live, know that our job is to empower these people. And part of empowerment is that idea of not dominating and inviting them into the conversation and listening to their ideas and all those things. But that's one thing on confidence, is watch who we're being as senior leaders. Because if we're giving like a lack of trust signals or a lack of belief in them signals, then they're going to have even a higher inner dialogue, a louder inner dialogue in their head saying, hey, I don't know if you can do this. So that's one idea I have on confidence. And maybe Samantha, do you want to share another that you might have?
I would also say reinforcing with the confidence piece, reinforcing that they have a purpose in the meeting. Because I think that's another one that when they first get invited to that meeting, again, where's my voice? Or I'm, everybody else here is more experienced than me, so I don't have that confidence to speak up. And reminding them that we want your point of view. You're not in this meeting just to take up time or take up space. You're here because we want your point of view. You have a distinct point of view. Maybe you have a different connection with clients or, first year team members. We want you to speak up. So I love what you said, Jen, about make sure you are showing them that you have, or telling them that you believe in their potential, and reminding them of the actions that you're taking is because you want to hear from them. And as silly as it sounds, we need to be that overt with that invitation at times.
I agree, 100%. The other thing is to just tell everybody that you ever meet about all the times you lacked confidence.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I try to do when I'm coaching confidence in others, because people might feel like I am always confident or whatever, they may make up because they see me in certain circumstances where it looks like I'm confident, that I never suffer from a lack of confidence, but I do. And I have, and I will continue, because we all have the same inner dialogue, and it's always trying to drag us down a little bit or diminish our possibility or rib kick us. I call it rib kicking. And we all share the same sort of inadequacy feelings at times. And Samantha used the word imposter syndrome. I think we could do a whole HR huddle and should on imposter syndrome and a lack of confidence and how it manifests internal to us. But as a senior leader, if I'm coaching others on a lack of confidence, part of it is I'm just getting there's nothing wrong with them, that they have fears or concerns. Let's presence them and let me help you process them, and let me help you mitigate them, because I too have suffered. I will suffer again. Part of it is expressing what I'm afraid of, seeing how sometimes it's so impractical when I say it out loud, but sometimes it is practical. And then you could maybe, as my senior leader, help me with it, and having them know it's human. The human condition lacks confidence, self-confidence, and certainty at times. All of us do, and it's normal. So those are a few of the common leadership roadblocks that we encounter. And we have others, vulnerability, lack of transparency. I don't know what else. Trust, trusting self, trusting others. So we could get into those in a future conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this in social. Please, by all means, and any other topics you think we should be covering in HR Huddle. We're sure glad to be with you today and hope you have a great week. And we look forward to connecting with you again. Thank you so much, Samantha and Caroline, for helping put this on today. See you all.
Have a good week, everybody.